executed. Correct. Now, when we say something happens, who is responsible to do that something with respect to what we call as executing our own code? Correct. So, like in parallel, I am going to demonstrate the same thing from other terminal too, where I would be making use of Linux and Windows side by side. So both the things I am going to really show the you all on this front. Okay, so let us try to understand this system call. This picture itself depicts, okay, the importance of this. Like what exactly happens? There are devices, you have OS along with you, and there are applications. So when your user wants to communicate through application, he starts communicating through the machine. Okay, and then he or she can access the devices. What are the devices they are which are expected? So when I say devices, it could be either of them. Like it could be disk, it could be say memory. When I say disk, I am into say storage, memory. Okay, probably your RAM. Even there could be programs, some processing may be forced by you to access and so on. So the application might be doing either of them. Like for example, when I'm trying to play an MP3 file, I may not modify that file directly. I only would be selecting that file from the uh, storage that I have, and I will start playing that video, sorry, audio. Okay, same thing may happen with video. I may not manipulate, but sometimes if I open a Word document or a Paint or somewhat similar to that application, somewhere I might make the changes and I might save the things. Okay, so like you may see that there could be some applications which are written by you. So let us not target, let us not try to concentrate much more on these terminologies that are added POSIX and Linux specific. So we'll be addressing them after a while. So if I do assume that this is a GNU C library, so I am going to give function call to this GNU C library, which in turn would be communicating with this system call interface. Now this system call interface may have different things in between. So let me show you how it happens. Okay, so I am making use of now my Linux terminal. Okay, so let us write the code. Say like let us take the example of our .c code that we wrote that day. So it was MCA. So let's MCA.c. It was meant only for this to display this particular string. So like when we tried creating an executable like this, so we got an executable. Okay, and then when we executed that program, we got to know that yes, it displayed. But what exactly happened towards that side? How exactly it could print here? So what we did was we used a stress. Okay, a dot out command. So let me write less. So you may see that it used internally a system called write. Okay, and where it printed this string with like the amount of characters that were added, like or the length of string that was printed on the display was 17. You can compute it. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 and 17. So 17 characters were printed. Now if I really wish to check now from my side, so like so if I try to see this particular aspect now, okay, we definitely can see that we have a C library outside, okay, and which in turn would be calling the system call interface. So what happened was we wrote printf from our Linux specific code, Okay, this application which we wrote using an editor, which was compiled and linked together with GCC, and then it got executed. So it gave function call to printf, and that this function call was chosen from the GNU C library. Nearly 2000 plus functions were written inside. So to execute that function, one of the function from the 2000 plus, so it was my printf function. So this printf function was given a call. Now in turn, in the body of printf, somewhere a system call was given a call. So that was a write. So it found, okay, where exactly it is. Correct. So when we really worked out that front, we definitely could see that, okay, so it was communicating through this IO interface because it was meant to print. It was meant to print the statement or the string that is added there. Okay. Now how this happens? Let us try to understand. Now what happens is there are two mechanisms and applied by the system to control the access to your resources. What are the resources that you have? So it could be related to memory. It could be related to storage. It could be related to your IO even. So like how exactly that can be done? Either there would be two different modes of execution, and either other mechanism would be make use of system calls. And this one would be one of the easiest thing for users like us as an individual basis. So let us see what exactly operating system is supposed to do for us. So there is a terminology called kernel. Okay. Now what this kernel is, it could be a single module or set of submodules, or maybe you may say subsystems, sub-functions, sub-procedures, sub-processes, okay, which collectively would be helping operating system to complete the respective functionalities or to support respective functionalities. And it is said to be heart of your OS. Kernel is said to be heart of your OS. Now, if it is a heart of our OS, how exactly would we be communicating with it? How exactly you are going to communicate with the OS? Now the thing is, like if at all we are going to communicate with OS, then we definitely will require a mechanism of the kernel. And this is how the management is done with respect to the kernel. So you have hardware, underlying hardware, amount of space would be given which could be only accessed by the kernel, the main code of your operating system. And above it, there would be layer of system calls and then user space. So you might recall while we were discussing about structures, I said we are going to see two to three new structures, which I would be addressing after this point. Okay, now what happens is in this architecture, you have two different kinds of spaces identified. One was meant for the user, other one was meant for the kernel. Some part would be available for user, some part would be available for the kernel. Now what happens is if I have to think of a processor, sometimes a processor is working on users area and sometimes processor is trying to process the code into system area. So we need to consider two different modes of execution. One is called a user mode, other one is called as kernel mode. Now what happens is like with user mode, whatever the instructions that you have, it will not let you know that I'm doing something greater or something very, very important. For example, now when we saw this aspect of the printf statement, correct? Now you must have realized that so when I executed my code like this, I never worried what amount of effort was put by my system internally to display this string. So my target was whenever I write a printf statement, it should display whatever I write in the printf. Correct? Whatever I write in the printf. Now, if it is the case,
Sir, so stress gives us the information on what is actually happening in the system when we give a command.
yes.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so like as a user, we never worried what is happening in the background, correct? When we executed this. But when I try to see, like that's what I was trying to. This is happening in user space. My name is Nitin is displayed. This is happening at my side. Okay, that's what I am realizing, correct? But when I try to see what happens in the internal mechanism of the system, so I'm displaying this using lace. You can use more to, okay, to display that in part-wise manner. So it may or may not permit you that way. So like if you see, I can specifically find out that there's a write system called given and which printed this thing. I never worry what is address, what are the different variables that I do create, at what addresses they are stored. I don't care where exactly my program is loaded. It is sufficient for us to tell that my program got loaded in memory. But when I say memory, like if your system programmer's viewpoint starts thinking, okay, memory, let me find out where, correct? But as an user's perspective, we don't care. From kernel perspective, you definitely need to. And that's what is the difference in respect of this particular aspect. Fine. So we were talking about this part. There would be a user mode, there would be a kernel mode. Correct. Now, whenever we are starting execution, we need to communicate what is to be done. Like you must have recalled like those who used DOS probably or command prompt. Okay, so see this one. If I have to print a file, suppose dir. So this was Windows. So let me go to desktop. Dir. Okay. By the way, let me create a file there so that I can show you that part. So let me. This is a test file. So let me save this on my desktop. So I'm giving name test.txt. Fine. Suppose I save this file and now if I check dir. Now on Linux I could have given a command called ls. Now I can see that like there is a file called test. So if I try to print, like if I try to display that file, so I write like on Linux I write cat. Here I write type. Okay, test.txt. So I can see that the contents are shown to me for my file. Correct? This is a test file. Now, how it came to know that this should be displayed on this screen? That means the standard output. Now, if I have to print this, this is the command that we used to pass on. It used to print it on the printer, provided printer is connected to your machine. But now, as I don't have any printer connected to my machine, it is not printing anything. Correct. So let me try to really show you how it prints. Okay, when I give this kind of command, let me take a print of it. Let us see whether can we print it. It might not be recognizing my printer for a while. Okay, because I haven't installed any printer there. So if I go and check whether is there any printer attached. So control panel. Then let us take devices and printers. Okay, now you will see that my printer is not available. So yeah, this is unspecified. Correct. So it says this printer is added. So let me troubleshoot. Let us see what is the problem. So it might be trying to install this printer and it was not installed properly. So that's why it might not be sending or maybe printing the thing. So I don't see. So let us try to check whether can we get Spooler services? Can we get more problems for it? Apply this fix. So I'm trying to install my printer, though it is plug and play, but like I might have uninstalled the printer and then worked out. So like it is doing the things. Yes, now my printer is added. Now let me pass on the command again. Let me see whether it gives, it prints it. Now problem, what can happen is it might not be able to understand whether was this the printer used. So let me set it to default. Yes. OK. So let me switch back. So this, now you may see an error. The system cannot write to the specified device. It could be because I'm trying to do, or I'm trying to print something which was not meant to be printed through this, because it is not able to understand or recognize what your printer is. So what can happen is I may have to restart my machine. But if I do the same thing from, say, for example, my notepad, let us do that. So let us try to take print. OK, so let me print. So I am getting my printer. So you may be hearing a voice. So let me show you what got printed. Correct. Hopefully my camera is visible. OK, so let me see if I can switch. Am I visible? Yeah. So you may see like it is printing, it printed something. Correct. Because in Windows it was recognized, but on Linux, sorry, on command prompt, it might not be able to understand that device, because it will require one restart from my side, because I am trying to do, or I am trying to access something which was not meant for that particular thing. So that's what we are trying to talk about. OK, so from kernel mode, it was trying to print. OK, that's what we could see the error. The system cannot write on the specified device. It might not be able to understand what the device that you are trying to make use of. And that's why it returned that error. And that's what it says. Like we can see user mode, normal instructions are executed, but at kernel mode, you do need to have control completely. Now suppose if I remove my printer, OK, if I remove my printer, look, I'm removing my printer from my machine, and then if I try to print, then kernel will try to find out whether printer is attached when your user fires a command with print. For example, if I fire a command with print, say from here. So like if I try to find out like whether it is printed or not, it might not have been. OK, so let me go to my printer and let me see here what is dependent. OK, let me see the list. See what is printing. So it says this was supposed to be print, but printer is not offline and printer is not online. So my kernel is trying to communicate, through the processor, but it is not getting any response. That's why it stopped. It is not doing anything. So it could be related to some memory. It could be related to devices and so on. And that's what kernel mode and user mode would be working. Now let us try to differentiate between the space. Now see how many users could possibly there on your machine. So if it is a multi-user system, there could be multiple users too. OK, and if you have single user system, single user only for that system, then it may or may not require any kind of protection. Correct. Why it needs to be protected? You as another user should not enter into my area, my user area. So every user will realize that or assume that he or she is having a separate user space available. But kernel space would be shared across. Kernel space would be accessible only through the system calls. You cannot directly get into this area, kernel space. If at all you want, you need to make use of system calls to communicate, and then only kernel will run its own processes to get your work done. That's what happened with print. That's what may happen with your read system call, means scanf. It may happen with all respective function calls which you are using, where you are going to directly communicate with the different controlled resources by the kernel. Any problem? Any question that you want to ask now?
Sir, I wanted to ask what is a module? In the definition of kernel, it was written that it is a module or a
Okay,
subsystem.
so module means what? It could be a function. Okay, specific dedicated function written. So that may be a single function, or that may be calling n number of different functions altogether. So if I divide a system, a program, let us say as operating system is a program or a set of programs. So if I divide those set of programs would be doing some specific task. So that I am going to call as a module. Okay, one module would be doing some specific task. So it could be like, so whether you are going to call only that kernel as an operating system, or you are going to call a whole bunch with subsystems, like one system would be accessing or handling IO, one system would be handling storage, one system would be handling memory, one system would be handling some other things related to your OS or processor, say for a while. So you have different subsystems across. So they would be controlled by your kernel. That's why you can call together as a kernel or an individual module. Okay, so depending upon the design of your operating system, this could be a bundled one or this could be a divided one. So that's why like it is either it could be a subsystem or set of subsystems or a single module. Fine. So if I talk about DOS or Linux, like Linux version, okay, which is not a GUI, only text-based UI, only 256 MB of storage is required to install your OS if you don't want any fancy things for Linux. Okay, even your DOS operating system used to get installed on only 1.2 MB of space. Now, if I try to see how much space is taken for my Windows folder, okay, so if you go here and if you try to see how much space is taken by your OS. Okay, for like this is for the programs loaded in memory. Correct. The programs related to OS, like when I say programs loaded in memory, they would be called as processes, but you definitely require some operating system programs underlying on the storage, and they are stored here. So let us see like how much size it takes. This much amount of GB. Yeah. Yeah. Somebody was saying something. Yes, Piyush, you were saying something.
No, sir.
Okay, your mic is up. Okay, so you must have seen, like for example, my OS on my Windows platform or Windows directory is taking this much size, correct? But if I see open this folder and if I see there are different subdirectories underlying, and that's even I can show with respect to my Linux OS 2. So let me try to show how the space would be divided. So let us go here and then I will share my terminal. Correct. So like if I check this cd slash, so this is the current directory that I do have on my machine. Correct. So if I try to see, sorry, df. Okay. So df command gives you, it is a shell command. It reports file system disk usage space. So if I try to write df pipe less, so let us try to see. This is your root, this home directory, or like what we see C colon. This is my C colon for Linux. So this much amount of storage is used by me, 7% of it. Correct, as a whole. So if I try to see the same thing on Windows, I can get it this way. So let me show you that. So if I try to see this whole portion of my C drive is taking this much amount of space. I have this much amount of space free and used. Whatever I showed you from the other side. Okay. Another option possibly could be for me is to check it this way. Okay. On Windows, how much free is there and how much is occupied. Now from operating system to operating system, it may vary. How exactly it is carrying out these all specific options. Correct? Now, whenever we are dealing with such kind of things, rather, in this case, what happens is, what are the mechanism that is provided by you? By you, I mean to say by your OS. There would be definitely controlled execution happening at the other side, depending upon your OS. What is permitted and what is not permitted. Now, generally, you do see, like you try to compare both of. So in Windows, I can do this, but in Linux, I cannot. It is not like that's what I said earlier. Like these two are considered to be different religions in programming world. So whether you are from Linux or you are from Linux community or you are from Windows community, always there is there are debates happening which OS is very good. Correct. But whenever we do talk about this, each OS may have its own properties, may have its own mechanisms to provide services to the user. Correct. Let us move further and see this. Now how it works. So that's what we saw. Like if at all I wish to execute my code, so I will write my process, I will write my code, I will compile my code, I will create executable, I will execute that, it becomes a process. I give a call to my library routine, which is happening in user space. And I may pass on some data too, along with my routines. Now what happens is this is passed as an information by this differentiator, okay, which permits it to execute into kernel space. And then it says, okay, what would be the simplest assignment for your library routine? So if it is a printf, any kind of print function from your programming language, it goes to write. And then it selects it from system calls. So like if you recall in previous session, I asked you to find out something about interrupt vector table. Right, for Windows. So like the services provided from the kernel side are called as either interrupts or system calls. So interrupt dispatch or system call dispatch. And then appropriately the service is executed. And this service is stored in something called as ISR. So I'm adding that into our comment window. Interrupt service routine. Each code is written for every service and that code is responsible to get executed. Suppose if I want to write my own, then I need to write interrupt service routine. If I want to add something. Okay, so now think of this like you are trying to write a code. What that code should do? Whenever it gets executed, subsequently on the terminal, say for example, let us see whether yeah, I have terminal. So if I see like if my program gets executed on terminal on Windows or Linux, whatever, depending upon on which operating system I wrote the code, what should happen is a capital character should be converted to less. So if I type in something, some string should be displayed. The system cannot write to the specified device. What should happen? This capital T should be converted to small t and capital H should be converted to small h should be converted to capital, and this should happen in a sequential manner, capital small, small capital, capital small, and so on. It continuously should process until unless user says stop. So there is a virus. You can get information about it on Google. Dancing doll. I've added that name. What it does is like every small case character would be converted to capital and every capital would be converted to small, and it happens recursively. Capital small, small capital, capital small, small capital, and so on. So it continues it until user is forcing that to stop or system is forcing it to stop. So that's what is called as dancing doll. Another one is called Now think of this even, like suppose if I start typing here, what should happen is this D, whenever I type this D, it should flow down towards bottom side like a raindrop. So the virus is raindrop. So they are simple programs. Only thing is the programs are getting executed in color area. So somehow you are entering into this area and then you are trying to control the system. So when your user tries D, this should D should go down towards bottom like a raindrop. You will not be seeing anything here. Like D, it would be there, but it will look like that this D is taken back. This I is taken below in the bottom side, like R is taken toward the bottom side. And then after it touches to this boundary, like whatever the boundary size that you increase or decrease, it should vanish. That is called as raindrop. So if I try to write such a code, what is to be done? I need to get control of my space, kernel space. From user space, I should be able to enter into that area, which is control. It's not only executing, because see, we are not trying to play with the operating system. We are only trying to execute our code. Can you write either of the code? Maybe like you may not be able to show me this. Like for example, when I try this, suppose when you execute this code, suppose dir, suppose this is your code name. So when you execute it, correct. So screen should be cleared and then it should display that text to you continuously. Like every time it displayed the text, clear the screen, clear the screen, clear the screen. Keep on doing this. So that way you can achieve this simulation, either a dancing doll or a raindrop. Try to find out information about this, how to write such a code. Dancing doll, what is to be done? Small cases converted to capital, capital cases converted to small. And you can continue this until like the code generally you might have seen, you write while one. Correct? Or while true. You continue this until user forces to stop. Okay, that way you would be getting idea like what exactly happens towards internal side. Yeah, so let us move further. Now, why do we require this? We don't have any control, like if whatever I am speaking now, until unless there is a code available, will it be displayed directly on my screen? But same thing can be seen on your WhatsApp window. Whenever you try to keep on, like if you press that, if you go to keyboard, okay, and if you see the mic option is there towards right corner for your keyboard, correct, on your mobile. So if you click on that and whatever you say, it would be automatically typed on the screen. Correct. Now how this is done? Because you have a control device at that side. But whenever I wanted to print something, I need to make use of print function, and then as it was to be displayed on the standard output, it was to be displayed on the standard output. I need to take help of my OS code, because if I try to write code, say for example on Windows platform as well as on Linux platform, same code may not get executed in a similar manner. For example, those who used Windows or maybe Turbo C specifically, Turbo C compiler specifically, you must have seen that you write CLR SCR as a command, clear screen, okay, which was a function call. So you could have executed that CLR SCR function from Turbo C. You don't have direct similar kind of function available here. So you have to make use of a function called system, where internally you are going to write clear. So if I at all I wish to say clear my screen, okay, let me show you that part. So suppose I have my terminal like this. Okay, now if I want to clear it, so I will write here clear, then only it would be clearing. So if I write man clear, so it says clear the terminal screen, and this is the command. Correct. So if at all I have to execute such a command, because to write that CLR SCR function on Windows platform with the Turbo C compiler, I have to always include a file console.io conio.h. That's what we said, correct? This file would not be available on Linux platform. Console.io. This was meant for your console. Okay, console I mean to say your screen, or it could be any output device, standard output device or standard input device. So if I have to use this kind of function, this clear function inside my C code, then I have to use this function man system. This helps me to execute a shell command. So if I give a call to this function called system, okay, in between I will write in a string form double quotes, say for example like this sh or ls. So I definitely can get it executed. So let me show you how. So let us try this. Sorry, oh, I opened it in on root. That's why it is giving me an error. So let me write it here. So hash include std lib.h man. Okay, let us try to create an executable. Execute. So you may see I implemented my ls command. Correct? That's what you may say. What I executed? I executed my executable. And by executing my executable, you must have seen that we could successfully get. See, for example, if I want to see all files together, this is where I started execution. Correct? Correct. So like if at all I have to do this, I can write it like this. So this is the function call that we gave. Yeah, somebody was asking something. Okay. So there is no question for a while. Okay, so we can use this system function call to make use of, to control the commands, to show the commands. But this only would be executing the commands from the shell itself. Will I be able to make use of it for other way around? So those who might have implemented shells earlier would have done the same thing, that they might have used a function call to display and you could have achieved the same thing. Correct. So like that is the reason, like the now kernel, this system may not permit me to make use of directly system calls, but it is only permitting me to execute the commands. Okay, so now what happens? Suppose in user mode you wrote a function. This was, say for example, your printf function. Now this printf function contains somewhere call to the system call. This system call is your write. So system call invocation in application program would be given like this through a function call. This function call would be containing a system call from libc standard library. Okay. Now when it reaches to execution point where the system call is, this call get executed. So it call execute the system call. There would be a function which is write now. This write function call would be executed in kernel mode as a call service routine, system call service routine, or in other way around I said interrupt service routine, and then it comes back. This might be like system call handler. It is kind of a table which where it verifies whether is this a valid system call or not. And then if it is not a valid system call, then it comes back. If it is a valid system call, it will execute. If it is not a valid system call, it will come out of from here only. It will force exit. Okay, and that is how in user mode this gets executed. In kernel mode, actual execution is done. Now, how it came to know that when we wrote printf, this should be displayed on the screen as an output. Correct. So let us try to see that. So it is only trying to depict the same thing. Okay, so let me go to show this. So we saw this directory. Okay, USR include ASM unistd.h. Those having laptops, try to verify whether do you have this directory available on your machine. This header file is available on your machine or not. Please check. Those having this file available on laptop can raise the hand that I have verified this. Write this on command shell less or ls/user/include/asm and so on. So let me show you how it is to be done. I will write like this. So ls/usr/include/asm/unistd.h. Okay, so if I wish to see contents of it, then it tells me that if you want a 32-bit one, choose this one. So let me choose it. unistd_32. These all are the system calls stored on my Linux platform. Correct. So nearly, let us see what is the count. +300 should be there. Yeah, nearly 435. In number, like if I see they are serial numbers given, so nearly 435. But among them, you would be using only specific of them. Okay, so they would be kind of 250. Now, if I see how can I get into them, so you write this way: man to write. Then this is Linux programmer manual. This is the system call. Then you say write to a file descriptor. Okay, that means what you are going to write into the file. Let me go back again to our screen. So we said they are not directly linked with user programs. User programs do give a call to a function from user mode. Okay, and then at the time of translation, they would be converted to system calls. Okay, now the system calls could be divided into different categories. So like if I write in textual manner, this would be a system call interface. These would be the different calls. Like these are your services by your operating system through the software. And these are the subsystems. Now you may recall like why I think Tanmay was asking something question about what exactly I mean by module. So this could be a complete module and there could be different function calls or sub functions defined for the kernel. Process management, memory management, file system, device control, networking, so on. Correct? Fine. So they are the routines, they are the functions written specifically doing the task which would be permitting you to connect with the underlying devices, underlying hardware. So these are the features that might be implemented in your system. Concurrency. Concurrent. In parallel, you are going to do this. Correct? Multitasking even. Now you are realizing that, okay, I'm trying to make use of memory. I'm only the user. This is only shown to you. There could be hundreds of different services running. Okay, even the files directories that you are going to handle, how exactly they would be handled. Now, what are the shell that I showed you? It is called as a character device. So like why? Because say for example, if I try to type in here, I type D, then I, then R. So that is character by character. But when I try to copy or delete a file, it is not done character by character. It is done on a block basis. Block, group of characters. So your devices would be in two forms right now. We will only right now say there are multiple forms too. Let us try to concentrate now. Devices connected to your machine would be, say for a while. I'm not saying these are the only two. For a while, let us say they are only two. Now, how can I check it? How many kind of devices that are there on my device? So let me go back to my Linux. Okay, now open your terminal. Become a user as root sudo -s. Input your regular password. You become root. Okay, now write this cd-/dev. This is a directory on root or home directory where it stores information about all devices connected to your machine. Device manager specifically shown through the GUI. Okay, so if I try to write ls-l and let us do this list, you will see C, D, 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 L. You will see this B2, B. So first character in this ls-l, whenever you try to see a particular file listed, no matter where, suppose even if I write it here ls-l, okay, whatever I see here, correct, whatever I see here would be what? It is trying to tell me what exactly it is. Correct. Similarly, when I go here in the dev directory, and if I try this ls-l, this C tells me character. Okay, and this B tells me that it is block. Block means like see, when you try to delete the file, you must have seen that it shows you status bar, or Windows UI, it shows that something is flying from here and there. If it is delete, then it vanishes. Okay, the animation created in front of you. So it is doing it in a batch manner. So that's why block by block, cat by character. So you may have your own mechanisms to really talk about those devices. That's what is stated here, like on the screen. Correct. The devices could be the file system, either could be a block or something else like character. It could be a block device, it could be character device. So if it is character, then it is going to display that on console. That is your terminal, output terminal. And if it is block, then it could be disk or your CDs or even in memory. And there could be network subsystems too, which would be permitting communication between the devices. Okay, so network interfaces. So there might be drivers added with respect to all these aspects. Now you must have seen while I tried printing the thing, it took some amount of time because my printer was not recognized by my system. There was some problem with the driver. So I said fix the driver, then ultimately it fixed it. What are the different connectivity mechanisms are? What are the device access are? What are the file directory access are? They all are decided or permitted through the system call interface. Access to them would be given through the same. Now let us see what are the different system calls available then. So these are all system calls internally happening. So open, close, create. Now you write delete, correct? Delete a file or RM. Okay, so there is a function called a system called call unlink. There is read write, lseek, chmod, stat, ioctl. This list is not complete by the way. Huh? There are many. For processes, you are going to make use of some of these. Fork. I will demonstrate this fork call in next week. How exactly it works. So till that time, try to have your own Linux installed on your laptop so that you can definitely try what I'm trying to show to you. Exit. Okay. Then wait. Then BRK, SBRK. This was for process management. For inter-process communication, see now I'm assuming that I'm saying something and you all like those who are in meeting 59 people are listening to what Nitin Patel is trying to tell. But what may happen that some of you may respond, sir, I'm not able to hear you properly. Can you please repeat? So my message was not reached to that level. So inter-process communication. Correct. Even I can say, no, don't talk now. I will handle your query later. This could be one other mechanism. Okay. So what happens is you are going to access them through this is a new terminology that you call API. It is not new right now, but at least for us, for some of us, it is new. API, application program interface, which will be common interface through which you are going to communicate with the system. So this printf is API for you. Okay, which permits you to communicate with the system. So we saw you can see this into UniSTD. Okay, this would be telling you which are the different functions provided. Now earlier UniSTD and this UniSTD is different. Earlier UniSTD was in ASM directory. Now this UniSTD is in include directory. Let me show you what it contains. And then we will stop. Okay, so let us go to cd/usr/include. And if I try now this unistd.h. Okay, if I try to see this unistd.h now. So this would be containing information about like different things. So if it tells you the standard symbolic constants used by you to be used by the operating system to help you out. So that's where we saw what are the numbers for the standard input, standard output, and standard error. So you never will encounter with this directly until unless you become a system programmer, but you definitely would be interacting with these two, standard input and standard output. Fine. Any question? So it can contain multiple such standard. Okay, and I'm going to introduce you that POSIX part definitely after some time, not in this week or may even not in the next week. But this file would be containing some standards provided for the communication through the system call. Okay, and we may not understand everything what is shown over here because it is beyond imagination, and that's why I'm uttering a statement. I don't know whether I said that statement. You try to write in comment window. Okay, by the way, I'm stopping this recording. I'm uttering one statement now in front